how to exit a position 1 minute from the bar open. Yeah, there's no way to time something from the bar open, but in theory, right, in theory, of course, this all depends on if you're using time-based bars or not, or non-time-based bars. But in theory, basically, a bar does not close. Actually, this is not theory. This is fact. So this is a fact that a bar does not close until the next bar opens. So if you're using a time-based bar, even though I got a 30-second bar, so even though the time on the bar says every 30 seconds, but that's actually not factual. So if there's no incoming data, then the bar will not close according to the timestamp, right? That bar could close 5 seconds late, and then the next bar opens. So anyways, given just setting the technicals of everything aside, let's just say if you're using a time-based bar, such as a 1 minute bar, well, actually no, the way we're going to do this in BlackBird to get us close enough is BlackBird has a timer capability built into it, and so we're just going to use the timer. Although that timer actually times from the entry point. So again, there's another technical difference here. If you're counting seconds, if you're really breaking it down and counting seconds, then that's kind of the technical breakdown. But if your goal is really hey, just close the position out with within a minute, given 1 or 2 seconds, then this is going to work just fine here. So let me get BlackBird up and running here. So I just took a little shortcut and enabled BlackBird on the control center here. So all right, so let's get the interface open. And so the first thing we're going to do, since this is a continuation from the Bloodhound workshop, we're going to load in the Bloodhound template here. So we'll go to the template file, use the ellipses button there, the 3 dots, and then we'll go to the file menu, and there is yesterday's workshop file. And as usual, you should always take a look. Let's see, where is it? There we go. You should always take a look at your logic board just to make sure everything's connected up correctly. So for example, this Bloodhound template actually has 2 AND nodes here. All right, so you can get signals from 2 different sources here. So there's there's basically 2 different signals built into this, as a secondary question was answered in the workshop. So we ended up building 2 signals. So, you just want to make sure that, if you do have obviously if you do have a Bloodhound template like this with 2 signal sources, make sure that the correct AND node is connected to your result node, for example, right? So just make sure everything's connected correctly is basically the point I'm trying to make. So we'll just click OK there. And next, let me select the entry signal logic template. And that's our crossover with the open price plus 6 ticks. And all right, so there we go. So I have Bloodhound opened here. Let's see, one thing I do need to do before getting started is that Bloodhound system has to run in real time there. What I need to do is disable BlackBird, and then I need to change the calculate mode. So go into BlackBird, and so the way this the Bloodhound signals work is we need the calculate set to on price change there. All right, and now we can enable BlackBird. That way we can get the Bloodhound signals to function in real time there. with inside of BlackBird. So, so just remember that NinjaTrader requires that if your Bloodhound needs to run using a specific calculate mode, such as on price change or on each tick, then the strategy, or BlackBird and or Raven, also has to run in that same calculate mode. NinjaTrader does not allow you to mix and match calculate modes, right? All right, so now that I got that switched over, I can enable it. Oh, there we go. Yeah, just be mindful, guys, that if you're using, slow indicators in your Bloodhound logic, obviously, Bloodhound and BlackBird are going to take that much longer to load up. So, all right, let me put on the, so from the Bloodhound menu on the top of the chart here, right, I'm going to select the logic template, to match the correct entry signals. And there we go. We just happen to have a signal on the chart here. And there's a couple more. So good. So we can see things are working. All right, so now let's get BlackBird back open. And let's create that exit order here. So, see, I'm just going to create a market entry just to get us started. And so there was no profit target or stop loss information provided with this question. So if you want to close a trade based on a time, based on a time span from when, so it's going to be from when the trade was first opened. That's when your timer, right, is going to start. So as mentioned, right, BlackBird doesn't have timers, that is going to start from the open of the bar or the close of the bar, right? BlackBird's timers start from when the trade is opened, all right? So if you need a timer, to operate from when the bar opens, if it is that critical, you'll have to create basically your own custom indicator, that has a timer built into it. And just a little tip, good luck with that. So building timers into NinjaTrader is a very difficult task. NinjaTrader does not like time-based conditions. So just a little tip there about NinjaTrader. So if you want to close a position out based on a time, you have to have at least a profit target or a stop loss. You need one of the two. So we need, basically we need an order, an existing order. We need an order to exist after the position is open, right? So obviously when the entry order gets filled, then, if there's a profit target or a stop loss, that is an existing position, or I'm sorry, an existing order after the position has been opened. So, I'm going to approach this from the stop loss standpoint here. And let's see here. So we need to start with some kind of a stop loss. So, what I'll do, since no stop loss was specified, I will just, I'll just use a tick-based stop loss, and I'm just going to create a really large stop loss so that the stop loss is not getting hit, but rather the 1 minute timer will close out the trade instead of the stop loss, right? So, all right, so there you go. I just created a 75 tick stop loss. So, hopefully that's a large enough stop loss that it won't get hit within that 1 minute time period, right? So now, in the trailing actions here, this is where we can add that 1 minute timer. So let's put the mode to custom, so we can now start creating custom trailing rules here. So now we'll add a trailing rule, and let's rename this here. All right, so we're going to add a 1 minute timer to close, or actually, I always like to use the word flatten, so there's less ambiguity. You know, obviously close could be a price, or it could mean to close a position, but flatten is pretty distinct terminology there. So we're going to flatten the position, right? So in the trigger, this is where we can add a timer, and the timer would be in the delay trigger. So select delay, and now the second option down, we can see this provides a time period. So we can do seconds, minutes, or days. So, you know, if you really wanted to be precise about, you know, like a 1 minute timer from, you know, when the bar closes, right, to when the bar opens, you know, depending on, you know, your NinjaTrader and your logic template, you know, you just kind of have to time your own system. But, you know, there could be, you know, this should be pretty rare, but there could be a 1 second delay from, you know, when the bar opens, you know, to when the position gets filled. You know, that's very doubtful. You know, your NinjaTrader would have to be running pretty darn slow for it to take a, you know, an entire second for that. You know, but if you use seconds, you know, then, you know, you can knock a second off, you know, to make sure that you're inside that 1 minute timer, right? If need be here, but, you know, for simplicity here, you know, let's just put it on minutes, and we'll just set it to 1 minute. And so there's our timer right there. Pretty darn simple. Now, if you're using a minute chart, you know, so in my example, I'm using a 30-second chart here. You know, instead of a timer, I could, you know, if I wanted the flatten to coincide with, you know, the closing of a time-based bar, you know, I could do something like this. So if I'm on a 30-second bar, well, 2 bars, you know, equal a minute. So I could just say, you know, when the second bar closes, you know, that is my delay mechanism. You know, I could just count the number of bars. So 2 bars, 2 30-second bars would be a minute. So that's an alternative as well. So, all right, but let's put this back on the timer mechanism there. So there, you know, so there's our 2 timing possibilities there. You know, you could count bars if you're on a time-based bar, you know, or you could just directly use the timer. Now, the last thing to do is the action. And so what action do we want to take? Well, we want to flatten the trade. So where is it? There we go. Flatten the position. So right there. So our action will be to flatten the position. And with that, we're done. So, right, it was pretty simple, pretty straightforward. You know, just set your trigger mechanism that you want to use, and then set your action, and that's it. So at the beginning, you know, I said that we needed either a stop loss or a profit target. So if you want to use a profit target instead of a stop loss, you can create this same trailing rule inside of a profit target, right? So yeah, so this exact same trailing rule can be added to a profit target, right? So that's how you could use a profit target instead of a stop loss. So, all right, with that, let's take this for a little test drive here. Let's just close that out. And we can see down here a little message is telling us to reload the chart so Bloodhound can be added here. So let's reload the chart. Okay, there we go. So let me put Bloodhound back on the entry signals there. All right, let's look back. There we go. There's our entry signals, historical ones. All right, and next let's turn on the auto trading. And Let's see here. All right, so this bar is going to close here in a moment. So let me pull the market down, and we'll generate a short signal here. All right, so we have price has crossed over our EMA. That's the first part of the signal. Now, once price moves 6 ticks below the open of this current bar, right, of the forming bar, we'll get another signal here. And it looks like we're almost there. And let's just pull the market. There we go. All right, we got an entry. There is our stop loss order that has the timer built into the trailing rule of that stop loss. And so now it's just a matter of waiting, right? Just waiting there. So, all right, so while we're waiting, I'll just open up the stop loss trailing rules again so you can see, so you guys can all see how this is done. So again, the trigger, we're using, a timer-based trigger to 1 minute, and then the action is flatten the position. All right, so once this bar closes here, that should be approximately our 1 minute mark. And bingo, there we go. So it actually closed out about 2 seconds earlier. So there we go. All right, so that was Randy's question.